Good morning. Welcome today to another episode on child protection and welfare. Thank you so much for always tuning on to join us. So on today's episode, I will be teaching around signs and symptoms of abuse and neglect. Yes, signs and symptoms of child abuse and neglect. You know, if you do not have knowledge of something, no matter what happens, you might not have a solution to solve whatever that problem is. But the more knowledge you have or acquire under a particular subject or topic or whatever the reason may be, the more you will be able to deal with issues, problems that will come under it. So we talk about child abuse, child right protection all the time. But do you actually know the signs and symptoms of a child of abuse that is happening around a child or children? That is what we want to talk about today. And once again, welcome. So, child abuse and neglect are regrettable, heavily widespread issues that can have a significant impact in a child's overall well-being. So this is why you guardians, teachers, parents, community members, and child welfare professionals must be able to recognize the signs and symptoms of abuse and neglect. So when you are able to identify this early on, you can ensure that children receive the necessary support and assistance they require. So let's talk about physical abuse. That is recognizing physical abuse. How do you recognize when a child is physically abused? So physical abuse might be the most visible form of maltreatment on a child, but its signs are not apparent. So common indications include unexplained bruises, welts, or cuts. These are often in the shape of an object that is used to carry out that particular physical abuse on that child. For instance, wire, cable, belts, then hand. Yes, I have experienced the hand aspect of it. I always say that there was a man that, touched me wrongly and disrespectfully when I was just in secondary school. So, because I dared to report this man to my guardian then, this man carried grudges against me in his heart. I didn't know. So there was a chance he had to abuse me physically, and he did. And one of the signs that I was abused was that his hand was, you could see his hand on my face that I've been hit by that man. So those are the signs of physical abuse. Some of them you might see. Burns. A child that's an adult will use some like burns, hot iron. Fire to burn the child, all in the name of you are trying to discipline the child. That is not discipline. You hate that child. If you discipline, if you think that is a way to discipline a child by afflicting physical injury on them, that is not discipline. Especially those with clear shapes, such as cigarettes. Yeah, you light the cigarette and use it and press it on that child just because that child did something wrong. Then I mentioned iron. Those are the signs of abuse that children, physical abuse that children experience. And you and I must do something about it. Another one is fracture in uncommon places, or multiple fractures at different healing stages. Yes, you know, a child that is going through physical abuse, this child will always have scars. The ones that are trying to heal, and the fresh ones, you will always see those things on the body of that child. It's very clear. It's very clear. Okay? Another signs that you can recognize that a child is going through physical abuse is fear of going home or seeing a parent or any adult that is responsible for that child. If an adult is always abusing a child physically, the child will fear that adult. The child will run from that adult. So these are the things you fall under child care protection. You are the guardians, you are the educator, the community members, you know, the welfare professional, the child welfare professionals. If you see these signs, investigate it. Why is that child scared of that particular adult? Yeah, growing up as a teenager, because that was when I started experiencing abuse as a child. There were adults I was scared of. I was always trembling when they were around. I was always locking myself inside every time they were around. So those are the things. I was scared of some particular set of adults in my life then. So it is your duty as an adult, a teacher, a tutor, a guardian, a parent. You know, we make this mistake. You try to force a child to go to an adult he or she doesn't want to. Find out first why that child is trying to shy away from that particular adult. Something might be happening. I know that some children cannot speak this thing. Yeah, they can't say this thing. Some of them have been threatened not to talk. So your duty as an adult is to find out, investigate what is happening. Then you know why that child is scared of that particular adult, or trying to shy away or avoiding that particular adult. So another one is emotional abuse. How do you spot a child that is emotionally abused? So this emotional abuse, it doesn't leave physical mark. This doesn't leave physical mark. It can be just as harmful, but it can be just as harmful, if not more, as physical abuse. Yes. This one, what you will notice are behavioral signs. How the child is behaving. The behavior of that child. You know this child is emotionally abused. Number one is excessive withdrawal, fear, or anxiety. Those are the signs you will notice when a child is being emotionally abused by an adult he or she is kept under. Another one is delayed emotional development or age inappropriate behavior. Watch out for this behavior from a child when you see it. It's emotional abuse, is effect of emotional abuse. The next one is act of self-harm or extreme desperation. When you see this act in children, in a child, I'm telling you this because we don't know it except you are taught. You would think that's how that child behaves. It's not true. Children are meant to be children. Something will always trigger why a child is acting a particular way. Another one is avoidance of certain situations or a particular person without a clear reason. You know, I've talked about what emotional abuse is. You can get it from our YouTube At Rebecca Udom-Udofia, you can get the types of abuse, what the adult is doing to that child emotionally, that will make this child to put up these behavioral signs that you should know. And when you know, you don't just know. Your job is to report as an adult. Your job is to intervene. The more you know these things, the earlier it will call for intervention, then thereby rescue the child from going through what we call post-traumatic disorder. So that is why we teach these things, for you to know. So that's why those are some of the signs you can spot if a child is emotionally abused by an adult or not. Another one is how you can identify sexual abuse. Now, sexual abuse can be particularly challenging to detect. Yes, it can be particularly challenging to detect, but these are both physical and behavioral signs to watch for. Yes. Number one is unexplained bleeding or discharge from the genital area. That's one vivid sign that you will know that a child has been sexually abused by an adult. The next one is age inappropriate knowledge or curiosity about sexual topics. You have children like that. Why should a child be curious about sexual topics? What do they know? Where do they get it from? Who indulged them? Who taught them? Who showed them that? Yes. Those are the signs that a child is being physically and sexually abused. The next one is regression in behavior or sudden refusal to change. For instance, a child is very uncomfortable for you to see his or her body, and you are the mother, you are the father, you are the close person to that person. The person is always hiding. This thing has psychological effects on children. They hide. For instance, you take them to probably swimming, activity that it will have to do with where children have to change to wear a uniform. The child will not want to. He or she doesn't want to remove her clothes to change. He doesn't want to change where others are. So those are some of the signs. Another sign is this child might be having nightmares. Some children may bedwet because something their genitals is still developing, but someone has tampered with it in a wrong way. For instance, penetrating the child or playing with it. So the child begins to bedwet. I'm not saying that children don't bedwet. I'm not saying that there are children that bedwet without being sexually abused. Some of them is just a stage that they go through and they outgrow it. But sometimes when you have a child that has not been bedwetting, the child started to bedwet, you have to look into it. What happened to the child? Do not overlook it. Okay, so another one is sudden change in appetite. He or she doesn't want to eat. He or she has been hot. He or she cannot eat and all that. And the appetite changed. Your child just changed. You have to find out. Watch out for the changes in your child's behavior. Sudden changes. Do not overlook it. There is always something that child is not saying that you need to know and intervene as an adult. Who is responsible for that child? So the next one is how you determine neglect, if a child is being neglected. So child neglect is the failure to provide basic needs, and it can manifest in several ways. You know, when it comes to neglect, sometimes it's due to lack of resources that the basic needs of a child is being neglected. For instance, children from less privileged families, less privileged communities, countries and all that, their basic needs are being neglected. It's not that the adults responsible for them wish to do that. The adult is going through serious pain that he or she is not able to provide the basic needs of the child. That is why that is why if God has blessed you, support us, support our foundation, support children foundations, so that these children can be helped. Okay. One of the signs of neglect, how you know that the child basic needs are being neglected, is constant hunger. No food, no money to buy food. The child is always hungry. He or she looks starved, look hungry, seeking food. They're always looking for food. Have you noticed, have you ever been in a situation where a child has to steal food? Which child is well fed will do that? A child that is well fed won't do that, except otherwise. But the child steals food to eat. Another one is hoarding food when it's available. If the child is where the food is there for him or her to eat, see the way he or she hoard the food. Hunger of how many days? Hunger of how many months? How many weeks? The poor child is just trying to eat. So we need you, community members, governments, philanthropists, well-wishers, good people, to support us, to help these children, to help these families. The next one is how you can determine neglect is improper dress for the weather or consistent lack of cleanliness. Yeah. Some children don't have good clothes to wear. Harmattan is coming. Some children are walking about with tattered clothes, barefoot. Some of them live in an environment that there's not even water for them to take their bath daily. Is that bad? No soap for them. So they move around like that. You see them like that. Another one is unattended medical needs or unsupervised. You see some children, there is not enough, they are sick, they have illnesses, sicknesses, something as simple as malaria, but there is no money to attend to the medical need of that child. Another one is especially in dangerous activities or for a long period. Some children go about on the street on their own. Sometimes in the night. Isn't that dangerous enough? What about hawking on the streets? It's poverty that will make an adult to send a child out. And another thing is wickedness as well that will make an adult who is strong to do the work of a child that the child is doing. For instance, you send your child out to go hawk on the streets. That's wickedness, and you know you are capable. Another one is that you bring a child from a less privileged family, and you deceive the parent that you are coming to take care of that child in the city or anywhere. But when that child gets to your house, every day in day out, the child is hawking on the streets, in the traffic, instead of being in school. Children belongs to classroom, not crossroad in the traffic. That's wickedness. So there are two ways to that. You expose the child to danger. The child will hug and bring money to you. How do you feel? Is that the responsibility of the child? It's not. If you are doing that, you need to stop it. Because if we see you, we'll get you arrested and we'll take the child from you. That's wickedness. And we need to help parents who are sick and they have to use their children to raise money for feeding. You see them hawking popcorn, hawking fruits, hawking pure sachet water, hawking some things on the street. And if you want to investigate, you will realize that either is a single parent who is sick at home. So he or she will use the children to raise money just to feed. And it's not always enough. It is never enough. They still go hungry. So that's why we need to help. We need to put all hands on deck to help these families, these children. They need to be in school, they need to cross from classroom to classroom, not crossing road trying to hawk items. Another one is poor school attendance or frequent tardiness. Maybe the child has managed to get into school, probably government school, which is free. The child is not always in class, he doesn't attend school. I went to a government school. That's where I went to my secondary school days. I had students who have to hawk before they come to school. They have to hawk sachet water. And if you see where they are living, you just know that something that happened to these children were not fair. I was going through my own, but it wasn't in that direction. I never hawked. But there were children like that. I have students, my mates, who come to school without food. I have those that were papped. I used to listen to their stories. It's only pap, no sugar, nothing, because it's not available. Yeah, they were papped throughout secondary school time. So those are the people we need to help. Those are the people that a foundation like us are looking out for, to assist them. I know there is much, there are plenty, but the more you can do to help, you do, and God will open doors for more ability to help others. Another thing about helping children like this is that when you help children like this under this foundation, you help them, you are helping them to stand. When you help them to stand and grow into capable adults, like I'm sitting down here, I'm speaking from the understanding of what I went through as a child. It hurts me that other children are going through that, or worse. So when you help these children, they grow into adults, they will understand why another child, or their own child, or any child under them shouldn't go through that particular situation. So you are raising a community that fights against and stand against child rights abuse. So it's not just about the moment, it's about the future. That's why we need you. Help Children Foundation, the ones that you are convinced that are legit, not the one that are siphoning money or using it for their own selfish interests. So that is how you recognize signs of abuse in children. Just some of them. So it is important to remember that one sign or symptoms alone does not definitely prove abuse. Yes, sometimes I'm talking about physical abuse before, or a child bedwet once. It's not a sign that that child has been physically abused, and maybe a child played rough and get injured, and you begin to say that there was physical abuse from an adult. No, just one sign, it might not. It's not always enough. is not always enough. But it can be. For instance, a child and an adult rapes. Yes. And you see such signs. Don't say because it just once, nothing happened. Make sure you act, you take actions. Take that child. I will always advise that if you notice any signs of sexual abuse, no matter how small it is, the first thing you do is do everything in the best interest of that child. So the first step you take is hospital. Take that child to the hospital for medical attention before any other thing. Take that child away from that environment that you feel this is where the danger is coming from. Remove that child totally from that environment. That adult shouldn't have access to that child. You protect the sanity of that child first. Then you go after the adult. You don't have to fight the adult. You don't have to get into physical fight. Your work is just on your mobile phone. If you live in Lagos State, there's a platform you report such things. There are police stations. You report it, but make sure that this child is always safe before any other thing. You don't put the child in the midst of all that drama, because sometimes it's dramatic. It's not the thing that the child wants to be witnessing. So, however, if multiple signs are evidence, or if a certain sign keeps reoccurring, it is crucial to conduct a thorough investigation. Yes, you get professionals to investigate it. It is essential to approach any concern with sensitivity and care. Like I say, you prioritize the well-being of the child at all times, no matter the action you want to take. So when a child displays signs of abuse or neglect, it is not merely an individual tragedy. It serves as a clarion call for the entire community. Yes, when it happens once, when it happens to one child, it serves as a clarion call for the entire community. You look out for others. You don't just focus on that one, because it has happened to this child. It's likely to happen to even all of the children around. So you use one case as a case study to protect others. You don't even need to, as you are listening to me, I'm opening your eyes to what children go through on a daily basis. You don't need to wait for it to happen. When it comes to children's welfare and care, you don't assume. You know. You need to make sure you know. Make sure that you are certain. Make sure that you are sure that they are safe. As you are listening to me, change your mindset towards how you view children things. Oh, they are okay. Nothing is happening. No. You don't abandon a child until the caring for a child is a continuous thing until that child becomes an adult that is capable of caring for themselves. And adult age from Nigeria is 18 and above. But other countries have other age threshold, maybe lesser or higher. But wherever country you are, you care for that child until that child is above a childhood age. That means the person has entered into adulthood, where he or she can care for his or herself. So you don't abandon children. So by prioritizing education, you have to educate people. That's one of the things I'm doing here, educating people. about children's safety, their rights, protection and welfare. You prioritize education, you maintain vigilance, and you foster a deep commitment to child welfare. You don't take this thing lightly. Gone are those days that children were overlooked. Gone are those days. Because the thing is that in the past years, children are overlooked. That's why we have so many incompetent and injured adults, abused adults. They were not healed, and in some situations, a particular place is the way it is because of the kind of adult that occupied that place. They've been abused, they've been looked down on, they've been neglected, and that is why they are the way they are. I wouldn't want that to happen again. So you take it serious. So you can, by doing this, you can be sure to bring about a substantial change and create a safe environment for all children. So despite knowing all this, despite knowing the signs, the abuse, the steps to take to prevent it, there are risk factors and vulnerabilities. So when we are discussing child protection, it is important to understand the underlying risk factors and vulnerabilities that associate with abuse and neglect. So by recognizing these elements, it allows for better preventive measures and more effective interventions. So when abuse or neglect occurs, when you identify this early, you can potentially reduce the likelihood of maltreatment or at least minimize its severity. So we have different risk factors. There are different risk factors. But we have number one, we have different risk factors. Let me check that out if I can touch it, or I can do that by next week. Okay, it's more because I don't want to rush you, because some of you are just hearing this for the first time. So better you take it bits by bits. So on today's episode, I'm going to end it here. And make sure you listen to this video, you learn a lot, you change your mindset towards children, you love children. When it comes to children, let love lead, and you will see everything will be smoothly done. And also, I always say that it's not easy raising children. As a Christian, I will tell you that you need the help of the Holy Spirit to raise a child or children, or to look after a child under you. So always ask the Holy Spirit to help you. Ask God for help. So my name remains Rebecca Udom. I'm your family psychology specialist.